Remember the days of the 10 blue links? You know, you'd type something into Google, hit enter, and bam, a list of websites. Pretty simple, right?
Simple, yeah, but maybe not always the most direct route to an answer. Lots of clicking involved.
Exactly, lots of sifting. But what if I told you that whole way of searching is fundamentally changing, like right now under our digital noses?
It really is. We're not just talking small adjustments here. This is a major shift.
It's huge. Today, we're diving deep into something that's totally reshaping how stuff gets found online. It's this concept called query fanout.
And it's a big deal. Some experts are saying it's like the most significant change since mobile-first indexing flipped everything on its head.
Wow. So this isn't just another algorithm tweak.
Not at all. It's more like a revolution in how AI actually, interacts with information and puts it together for you.
Okay, so where are we drawing our insights from for this deep dive?
Well, we're looking at some really fascinating work. There's a great analysis by Alexandre Rodriguez Silva, and he's building on Andrea Volpini's original foundational stuff on query fanout, a data-driven approach to AI search visibility.
Got it.
And our mission today really is to try and understand how AI search actually works behind the scenes, not just the final answer you see like in an AI overview.
Right, like what's happening before that answer appeared.
Exactly. Why does that internal process matter so much?
Yeah.
And it matters hugely, whether you're, creating content, running a business, or honestly just trying to get good, accurate answers online these days. We want to get inside the AI's head, so to speak, as it does its research.
Okay, so this is crucial stuff for pretty much anyone online. Whether you build websites, manage a brand, or just want reliable info, query fanout is key. It dictates how you're found, how you're understood. All right, let's unpack this. Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
So the era of just getting that list of links, it feels like it's fading fast, doesn't it? We're really in the middle of this AI search revolution. It's way beyond those blue links.
Absolutely. What we're seeing with things like Google's AI mode, it's not just a better algorithm. It's a whole different way of handling information.
Think about it. Just a few years back, we were all excited about position 0, right? That little box at the top.
Yeah, a featured snippet was helpful. Sure.
Helpful, yeah, but often it was just pulling from one source, a quick quote. The AI overview we see now, though, that's a different animal altogether.
Completely different. And the core of this change, the real essence of query fanout, is that the AI isn't just taking your first query and finding matches anymore.
Okay, so what is it doing then?
It takes that one question you ask and it expands it. It fans it out into this complex network of related questions, these subqueries.
The network of subqueries.
So you think of it less like a librarian just pointing you to a shelf. It's more like,
Yeah.
like a really thorough human researcher.
Okay, I like that analogy.
When they get your question, they don't just grab the first book. They start asking themselves more questions. Okay, what about this angle? What's related to that? Let me check these other sources. They cross-reference, they synthesize.
And then they give you the answer.
Exactly. They do all this internal research first. That internal brainstorming and investigation. That's the fan out.
Wow, that's a massive difference. It means the AI isn't just an indexer anymore. It's like an active interpreter.
That's a great way to put it. It's an active interpretive agent. It's not just matching keywords or counting links. The AI, especially with things like AI overviews, is trying to simulate human thinking.
So it's trying to understand my intent, not just my words.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Probing different angles, asking itself dozens, maybe hundreds of these internal follow-up questions to build that rich synthesized answer. It's a huge leap from those old position 0 snippets.
Yeah, because now the AI is taking on the whole job of writing the answer, basically, not just pointing me somewhere.
And that's exactly why query fanout is so critical for you, the listener, to understand. Because the AI is now responsible for answering you directly. It's not just handing you a list of possibilities.
Which means its internal process has to be way more robust.
Absolutely. It needs a much more rigorous, much more complete internal search and synthesis process. It can't really afford to give a shallow or incomplete answer if it wants to be trusted.
So it needs to be confident.
Totally confident, which means its internal research, that fan-out process, it has to be pretty exhaustive. It needs to look at the topic from all sides, explore those different facets, we'll definitely talk more about facets later, to gather enough solid info to build a comprehensive, authoritative response.
Okay, now here's where my head starts to spin a little. This network of subqueries the AI creates. You're saying it's not like a fixed list.
Not at all. That's the crucial and maybe slightly terrifying part for anyone trying to optimize content. These subqueries are not static. They're not predictable in the old way. The research describes them as deeply contextual, stochastic, and impossible to predict deterministically.
Okay, let's break that down. Deeply contextual.
Means they change dramatically based on you, your location, your search history, what the AI thinks you really want to know, maybe even the time of day. It's hyper-personalized.
Wow. And stochastic.
That implies there's an element of randomness or probability involved. It's not following a rigid preset script for every query. There's some dynamic variation.
Okay. And impossible to predict deterministically. That sounds pretty final.
It basically means you can't just, reverse engineer the AI's brain
Yeah.
and know exactly which follow-up questions it will ask for any specific query at any specific moment. It's constantly shifting, adapting based on tons of dynamic factors.
Okay, give me an example.
Sure. Let's take a complex query from the sources like, what is the best sustainable marketing strategy for small e-commerce businesses?
Right, a pretty specific question.
A traditional search might just look for those keywords.
Yeah.
But the AI, using query fanout, it might break that down differently for different people.
How?
For one user, maybe someone who seems budget conscious based on past searches, it might internally ask, okay, what are the typical budget constraints for small e-commerce?
Makes sense.
But for another user, maybe someone who recently searched for ethical clothing brands, the AI might ask itself, how do sustainable practices specifically impact customer loyalty in e-commerce?
Ah, so it's tailoring the internal questions.
Exactly. Other internal questions could be, which marketing channels give the best ROI for sustainable e-commerce? What really counts as sustainable marketing? Or are there any good case studies?
And the key thing is these questions change from person to person.
That's the absolute crucial point. They adapt dynamically. If the AI knows you use Shopify or knows you have a tight budget, the subqueries get fine-tuned to your context.
So the whole idea of just ranking for one specific keyword.
It starts to look pretty obsolete, doesn't it?
Yeah. Or even just tracking your visibility in the old way. How can you track visibility for something that's constantly changing and personalized?
You really can't, not in the traditional sense. Which leads to the big challenge. If we can't predict these internal AI questions deterministically, how on earth do we optimize for them?
Now, how do we make our content visible to this dynamic thinking AI? Which brings us to how the AI actually, thinks about our content. How does it process it?
Yeah, what's going on inside that AI mind when it looks at your web page?
So if it's not just matching keywords and its internal questions are always shifting,
Yeah.
how does it make sense of all the content out there? What's the digestion process like?
Well, it's definitely not just reading your HTML file from top to bottom like we might read a document. It's way more sophisticated.
Okay.
AI search systems, especially the newer ones like Google's Gemini model, have these really advanced methods for interpreting not just the text, but the URL, the structure, everything.
So what's the first step?
The Gemini model actively tries to identify what the sources call the main ontological entity of the page.
Ontological entity. Sounds fancy. What's that mean in plain English?
Think of it as the core subject, the central concept the page is really about. So if you have a page on, say, tips for brewing pour-over coffee at home, the ontological entity isn't just coffee. It's probably something more specific like pour-over coffee brewing technique.
Okay, the main focus.
Exactly. Once it figures that out, it then starts extracting key foundational content snippets. These are the bits it thinks are most relevant, most accurate, and, this is crucial, most citable.
Citable, like little pieces of evidence it can use in its answer?
Precisely. It's simulating how an advanced AI would digest information, grabbing these semantically rich, self-contained chunks of knowledge. It's not just looking at raw text, it's looking for authoritative, bite-sized facts and explanations it can confidently reference.
So it's less about keyword stuffing or just writing tons of words.
Definitely.
And more about how clearly you present that core idea and how well you provide those citable nuggets.
You got it. Your content structure, its semantic clarity, how well it actually supports that main ontological entity, that's what matters now. You could have a massive page, but if it's a confusing mess, the AI might struggle to pull out those useful snippets. Your great info could end up invisible to the fan-out process.
Makes sense. Structure and clarity are key.
And this often involves something called chain of thought processing, or COT.
Chain of thought, like the AI is thinking step by step.
Kind of, yeah. It's a critical part of how these advanced models reason. The Colab simulator mentioned in the sources uses a COT module with Gemini specifically to think about different facets and types of related queries.
So it's not just random brainstorming inside the AI's head.
No, it's quite systematic. The AI considers different categories for follow-up questions, like related questions to find closely linked topics, implicit questions to figure out necessary background info, comparative questions to understand differences, things like that, all related back to that main entity it identified. And based on this reasoning, it generates a whole set of synthetic fan-out queries. It's way beyond just simple keyword expansion. The research calls it a more reasoned decomposition of the user's intent. It's like the AI's internal dialogue to really wrap its head around a topic.
So it's methodically exploring the topic from different angles, building a mental map. Okay, but once it has these internal questions, how does it know if my content actually answers them? How does it judge if my page is a good source for one of its fan-out queries?
Great question. That's where semantic coverage evaluation comes into play.
Semantic coverage.
All right. The system takes those key snippets it extracted from your page, or sometimes it might generate its own summary if the snippets aren't clear, and it checks how well that information covers the synthetic fan-out queries it just generated.
And how does it check for coverage? Is it looking for keywords again?
Not really keywords in the old sense. It uses semantic similarity, usually based on something called embeddings.
Embeddings. I've heard that term. Can you simplify it?
Sure. Imagine every word or phrase or even paragraph is converted into a point in a huge multi-dimensional mathematical space, like a giant map of meaning.
Okay.
Concepts that mean similar things like king and queen or car and automobile end up really close together on this map. Things that are unrelated, like king and cabbage, are miles apart.
So it can tell if ideas are related even if they don't use the exact same words.
Exactly. That's the power of semantic similarity. It allows the AI to understand if your content meaningfully relates to its internal query, even if the wording is different.
And the goal isn't to predict every single possible question.
No, that's impossible. The goal is to build a really strong semantic infrastructure with your content. Basically, make your content so comprehensive and well-connected that you significantly increase the chances the AI can predict the next probable question a user might have based on their context.
So it's about breadth and depth of meaning, not just keywords.
Precisely. It's about comprehensive understanding and how well your ideas connect, which really highlights the need for deep, interconnected content.
That makes a lot of sense, especially if the AI is trying to mimic a human researcher. A person wouldn't just scan for words, they'd look at the structure, the headings, the flow.
Exactly. And that brings us perfectly to Google's content chunking strategy. It's another vital piece of this puzzle.
Chunking, like breaking the page down.
Yeah. The sources are clear. Google doesn't see your page as one giant block of text. It segments it into smaller, meaningful chunks.
How does it decide where to chunk?
It seems to use a mix of methods. There's simple fixed-size chunking, like cutting every 500 words, useful for technical limits, but not very smart.
Right.
There's recursive chunking, which tries to break things down more logically, like by paragraphs, then sentences, better for messy text. And semantic chunking, grouping related ideas together by meaning.
Okay, different ways to slice it up.
But the one highlighted in the research as the most crucial for ingestion is layout-aware chunking.
Layout away, so it's looking at how the page looks, my headings and lists and stuff.
Bingo. This is huge for content creators. It means the AI is paying attention to the visual and logical structure you create, just like a human reader does.
How so?
Think about how you read an article. You don't just see a wall of text. You see headings, subheadings, bullet points, tables, maybe images with captions. Layout-aware chunking lets the AI recognize those structural cues.
So it uses my H2s and bullet points to understand the structure.
Yes. It aligns with how we naturally process visual documents. And critically, this is how Google's AI figures out passage-level relevance.
Passage-level relevance.
Yeah. So if you have a clear H2 heading like benefits of sustainable packaging, followed by a neat bulleted list, the AI, using layout-aware chunking, understands that whole section heading and list is one cohesive chunk about those benefits.
And if my page is just long paragraphs with no structure?
And the AI struggles. You might guess where chunks begin and end, but its confidence in using your content to answer a specific subquery goes way down.
So my visual structure, my use of headings, lists, maybe even tables, it directly impacts how the AI understands and decides whether to cite my content.
Absolutely. It's a direct, actionable insight. Want AI to find and use your stuff effectively. Make its structure obvious. Make it easy for the AI to see the key citable segments. This is fundamental for enabling that fan-out process to actually incorporate your information.
Okay, wow. So the AI isn't just reading words, it's fanning out queries, understanding semantics, looking at my page layout using chain of thought. This is a whole new ballgame compared to old school SEO.
It really is.
So the big question then becomes, how do we actually optimize for this? With all this complexity, where do we even start?
That's the key, right? The good news is the experts digging into this have identified about 10 core principles. Think of them as a new playbook for AI visibility.
Okay, a new playbook. Let's dive into these principles. This sounds like the roadmap we need.
Exactly. And they really signal a shift away from just mechanical keyword chasing towards something more, well, more holistic and intelligent, even more human in a way, despite optimizing for AI.
All right, principle number 1.
Focus on the ontological core, not content volume.
Ontological core. Back to that main entity idea.
Sort of, but bigger picture. It's not about just pumping out more blog posts than the next guy. It's about building this incredibly deep, robust, semantic foundation for your whole area of expertise.
A semantic foundation, like a knowledge base.
Pretty much. Your ontological core, that's a term from Tony Seal, is like the structured map of all the essential knowledge in your domain. It's the interconnected network of concepts and relationships that your content builds upon. And having this strong core is what lets the AI confidently generate those dynamic, context-aware answers using your stuff.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Say you sell fancy coffee beans, the old way. Blog posts like best espresso beans, how to French press. Right?
Yeah, standard stuff.
The ontological core approach. First, you build this super rich, interconnected hub about coffee itself. Its history, botany, processing, regions, brewing science, ethics, culture. Everything.
Wow, okay. Deep dive into coffee.
Exactly. Then you connect your specific product pages, your espresso beans, your guides back to this foundational knowledge. Suddenly, your site isn't just selling beans, it's the authoritative source on coffee in the AI's eyes. That allows the AI to fan out from a user query and pull comprehensive answers from your domain.
Got it. Build the foundation first, which leads nicely into principle 2.
Principle 2, build a dynamic and conversational content architecture.
Conversational architecture, what does that mean?
Since we know those AI follow-up questions are contextual and always changing, your content can't just be one giant static article trying to cover everything. It needs to be more adaptable, more conversational.
How do you make content conversational for an AI?
Think about structuring it to anticipate questions. Use clear, nested headings. Use internal linking that guides a user or the AI through logical next steps. Maybe use Q&A formats, comparison tables, even interactive elements.
So it feels like a guided journey.
Exactly. Your content should feel like a helpful expert leading a conversation, ready for that next logical question the AI might generate in its fan-out.
Okay, that makes sense. Principle 3.
This one's familiar, but more critical than ever. Prioritize rigorously EEAT and structured data.
EEAT. Experience, expertise, authoritativeness, trust. We hear that a lot.
And it's fundamental for AI. But it's not just about good content and backlinks anymore. You have to provide explicit semantic context through schema markup.
Schema markup, the structured data code behind the scenes.
Yep. You need to use it to tell search engines, in a language they understand perfectly, who you are, what your page is about, what kind of thing it represents, like an organization, a person, a product, and the factual relationships on your page.
Like tagging an author as a recognized expert.
Precisely. Or using medical clinic schema if you are one. This structured data directly boosts the trustworthiness and, importantly, the citability of your content for AI overviews. If the AI is going to quote you, it needs absolute confidence in your credibility.
Makes sense. Trust but verify. With code, what's principle 4?
Adapt to conversational and intent-driven queries.
Okay, we touched on this. The AI understands natural language.
Exactly. So your strategy needs to focus on the underlying intent, not just the exact word someone types. The AI gets the meaning, even if the keywords aren't perfectly matched.
So keyword research tools showing search volume, they're less important now.
They're part of the picture, but not the whole picture.
Yeah.
You need to dig deeper. Look at user research, forums, customer support logs. What problems are people actually trying to solve? Your content needs to answer those problems comprehensively.
So if someone searches, keep indoor plants healthy,
Your content should fan out to cover light, water, soil, pests. Everything related to that intent of plant health, not just those 3 words.
got it. Address the need, not just the query phrase. Now, principle 5 sounds really advanced. develop prediction models for contextual follow-ups.
Yeah, this one really shows the shift. The goal isn't to create content for every single possible question ever. That's impossible.
Right.
Instead, it's about gathering data and maybe eventually building actual models to help you anticipate the probable next questions a user will have based on their context.
So predicting the fan out, how do we do that?
It involves analyzing user journeys on your site, looking at analytics, seeing common drop-off points, understanding the logical flow of information seeking. What do people search for after they read your article on hiking boots?
Probably how to size them or waterproof them.
Exactly. So you use that insight from analytics, Search Console, maybe even tools like that fan-out simulator to proactively build content that answers those highly probable next questions. You're basically trying to get ahead of the AI's own fan-out by understanding your audience deeply.
That's smart. Be predictive. Okay, Principle 6 sounds like it changes how we measure success. Excel with zero-click and citation-based visibility.
This is a big mindset shift. In the world of AI overviews giving direct answers, you might not always get that traditional click to your website.
The dreaded zero-click search.
Right. But being cited within that AI answer, that can actually be more impactful than a click in some cases, especially for building brand authority and trust.
So even if I don't get the click, getting the citation in the AI overview is valuable.
Hugely valuable. It positions you as a trusted source in the AI's mind and in the user's perception. For informational queries where the AI gives the answer, being the credited source builds immense long-term credibility. It's about becoming a reference point, not just a click destination.
Okay, shifting focus from clicks to citations. What about e-commerce? Principle 7.
For e-commerce, focus on rich product data and comparative content.
More than just basic descriptions.
Way more. AI search isn't just for buy running shoes. It helps users on through complex decision-making journeys.
So I need to provide the info for that journey.
Exactly. Detailed comparisons between your products or against competitors, comprehensive specs, user guides, FAQs about usage, comparison tables, anything that helps the AI understand the nuances and help users compare.
So if someone asks, best noise-canceling headphones for travel,
Your site needs rich data on features, battery, comfort, price, maybe comparisons, so the AI can use your data to synthesize a helpful answer for complex best X for Y or X vs Y type queries. You're feeding the AI the comparison points.
makes sense. Help the AI help the user compare. Principle 8 touches on paid search.
Yes. Monitor paid search performance and adapt strategies. AI overviews don't just affect organic, they're shaking up the whole SRP, including paid ads.
How so?
Well, a big AI overview at the top can push everything else down, including your ads. Click-through rates might change for both organic and paid.
So my paid strategy needs to evolve too.
Absolutely. You need to track how AI overviews are impacting ad visibility and performance for different queries. Some queries might become less effective for ads if the AI answers them directly. Others might become more important for targeted paid campaigns. It requires constant monitoring and adaptation of your paid spend.
Okay, stay agile on the paid side too. Principle 9 sounds more foundational. Stay true to your values and listen strategically.
It's timeless, but maybe more important now than ever. As AI changes content creation and discovery, sticking to your core values is crucial.
Meaning,
It means focusing on ethical content creation, maintaining your brand's integrity, genuinely serving your audience's needs, not just trying to game the system or flood the web with low-quality AI content.
so authenticity matters more now.
I think so. In a sea of AI generation, real depth, unique human insight, and genuine value will stand out. Listen to your audience, understand them, and let your values guide you. Be a trusted signal in the noise.
Good advice. And the final principle, number 10.
Experiment and iterate continuously.
No surprises there, I guess.
Right. The AI landscape changes incredibly fast. There's no set it and forget it strategy here. What works today might be different tomorrow.
So constant learning and adapting.
Exactly. You need to actively use tools, maybe that query fan-out simulator, your own analytics, semantic tools to regularly check how your content is being seen and used by AI. Adapt based on real coverage data. It's an ongoing journey, not a destination.
Okay, those 10 principles give us a really solid roadmap. Focus on the core knowledge, be conversational, build trust with EEAT and schema, understand intent, predict follow-ups, value citations, provide rich data for e-com, watch paid search, stay true to values, and keep iterating.
That's a great summary. It's a significant shift in thinking.
It really is. But to truly get the power behind this query fan-out idea, you mentioned Alexander Rodriguez Silva connects it back to some older concepts too, like library science.
He does, and it's a brilliant connection. He links Andrea Volpini's work back to S.R. Ranganathan.
Ranganathan, the father of library science, right?
That's him, a mathematician and librarian from India. He developed this system called colon classification way back, using 5 fundamental categories or facets:
Facets. What were they?
personality, matter, energy, space, and time, often called PMES. They're ways to break down any complex subject systematically.
How does that work?
Take a book title like The Impact of Social Media on Teenager Mental Health in the UK During the 2020s. You could break it down. Personality, teenagers, matter, mental health, energy, impact of social media, space, UK, time, 2020s. It lets you analyze and organize complex knowledge.
So library science principles from decades ago are relevant to how modern AI works. That's wild.
It really is. It shows how fundamental these challenges of organizing knowledge are. And what's fascinating is that Gemini, when it generates those big, comprehensive answers, seems to be doing something very similar.
Using facets.
Yeah. Alexander calls it a panoramic movement around the subject. The AI looks at the question from multiple angles, exploring different sides, considering sub-questions that kind of fall into these conceptual facets.
So if I ask about managing remote teams,
It won't just give one answer. It'll try to cover different facets: leadership styles, personality, tools and tech, matter, communication strategies, energy, time zone issues, space, asynchronous work, time.
Yeah.
It fans out across these dimensions to build that holistic picture, pulling info for each facet.
which comes back to our content strategy, aim for completeness across all the relevant facets of a topic.
Exactly. Cover the subtopics, the related angles. And as the refuge notes, this isn't entirely new for folks doing real semantic SEO. They've been focused on comprehensive topic coverage for a while. This just validates that approach.
Okay, that's the facet connection. But you also mentioned the term fan-out has a specific technical history.
It does. Alexander found it used in a very technical context. Selection functions in reasoning systems with inconsistent ontologies.
Whoa, that sounds intense. Can you break that down?
Let's try. Imagine a system trying to figure something out based on a knowledge base, an ontology, that might have some contradictory information.
Okay, like a messy database.
Sort of. There's a selection function, let's call it S. It starts with your initial query F, first step. S grabs all the pieces of information, C, that are directly relevant to your query F. That's your starting set.
The obvious clues.
Right. But if that initial set doesn't give a good, consistent answer, the function doesn't quit. It increases the degree of relevance by 1.
Meaning?
It expands its search. Now it looks for information relevant not just to the original query, but also relevant to the clues it already found.
Ah, like ripples in a pond. It searches wider based on what it just found.
Exactly. That's the fan out. It keeps expanding step by step, pulling in more relevant info based on the current set of info until it can form a consistent theory or a comprehensive answer.
And there was a formula for that.
Yeah. S, F, K.
Yeah.
A. Direttamente relevante par SFK1, par K1. Basically, the set of relevant stuff at step K includes everything relevant to the set found at step K-1. It's this progressive, recursive expansion.
So that technical definition perfectly mirrors how AI search seems to be working progressively, expanding its scope to find enough info.
It's a striking parallel. It shows this fan-out concept is deeply rooted in how intelligent systems handle complex information retrieval, whether it's theoretical reasoning systems or modern search AIs.
That's fascinating. So how does this technical idea of fan-out play out in the real world of today's information systems? With LLMs and knowledge graphs, what are the broad implications?
Well, fan-out, in this modern sense, really means the system's ability to strategically expand its search, link information, and reason to answer complex questions or handle ambiguity. It's about exploring knowledge, not just matching terms.
Okay, so where do we see this happening?
First obvious place, query expansion and rewriting by LLMs.
We touched on this, LLMs making the query better.
Yes, they analyze your query, figure out the intent, and then generate extra terms or rephrase it to cover more ground. This helps bridge the vocabulary gap. You say car repair, the document says auto mechanic, the LLM connects them.
So for SEO, we need to think about synonyms, related concepts.
The whole semantic neighborhood, exactly, not just the exact phrase. LLMs might even ask you clarifying questions. Jaguar the car or the cat? branching the interaction to get more specific.
Okay, that's query expansion. What else?
Multi-hop question answering.
Right, needing multiple steps or sources.
Exactly. A complex question might need info from document A and document B, plus a reasoning step to connect them. Simple searches might miss this. This is where knowledge graphs, KGs, combined with LLMs really shine.
How so?
KGs map out relationships explicitly. Paris, capital of France. LLMs can break down the complex question into smaller subqueries, and the KG provides the structured paths to connect the dots. The LLM's chain of thought helps plan this multi-step information gathering. It's fanning out across the KG's connections.
So the KG is the map, the LLM is the navigator figuring out the route, which leads to retrieval augmented generation, RAG.
RAG is a prime example of deliberate fan-out. The LLM doesn't just rely on its internal training data, which can be outdated or wrong. It actively fans out to retrieve fresh information from an external source, like a live search index or a KG.
And uses that retrieved info to generate the answer.
Exactly. It grounds the answer in facts, which dramatically reduces those hallucinations where the LLM just makes stuff up. It fans out to find evidence.
But the quality of what it retrieves matters. Right?
Hugely. If the fan-out pulls in garbage or irrelevant stuff, the final answer can still be flawed. So the retrieval part, the fan-out itself, needs to be smart.
Okay. What about traversal and subgraph extraction in knowledge graphs?
This is core to how KGs work. When you query a KG, you don't just get one node back. The query naturally fans out along the connections, edges, to pull related entities and their relationships.
So you get context automatically.
Right. You can extract entire subgraphs, little networks of related facts, subject, predicate, object triples around your query point. This gives rich context and avoids redundancy. And things like AutoKGQA try to do a controlled fan-out, grabbing just the most relevant subgraph fragments to feed the LLM, keeping things efficient.
Smart fan-out within the graph. And lastly,
Refinement of ontologies and search scope. This connects back to Ranganathan a bit. Ontologies give us structure, like subclass off.
like golden retriever is a type of dog.
Exactly. We can use this structure to fan out or fan in. If a search for Oracle 8 fails, too specific hold, the system can uppost, generalizing the query to just database fanning out semantically.
Or if I search for something broad, like programming language.
It could downpost, specializing to Java or Python based on context or popularity fanning in. It helps users find the right level of detail by navigating the knowledge hierarchy.
Wow, so fan out is woven through query expansion, complex QA, RAG, how we use KGs, even how we refine search scope using ontologies. It's everywhere.
It really is a fundamental process in modern intelligent information systems.
Okay, this is incredibly deep and interconnected. So let's bring it back to the practical. With this rich understanding of query fan-out, how do we actually use this knowledge in our day-to-day work, whether we're doing SEO, building systems, or creating AI?
Alexander's analysis gives some clear pointers here. Let's start with SEO projects.
All right, what's the takeaway for SEO pros?
The absolute core message is stop optimizing just for exact keywords. You have to understand the semantic networks LLMs build when they expand queries.
Think broader related concept.
Yes, build your content to cover that whole spectrum. Anticipate the fan-out. If your topic is electric cars, you need content on charging, batteries, incentives, environmental impact, the whole ecosystem. Cover the facets.
So it's really leaning into semantic SEO principles.
It absolutely is. Alexander explicitly says semantic SEO is the right path. You need to create comprehensive resources that match the AI's own exploratory process.
Okay, clear mandate for SEO. What about people designing information systems, like internal knowledge bases or complex databases?
For them, the goal is to build systems that can actually do this complex stuff. They need to be able to decompose complex queries and perform multi-hop searches, especially using knowledge graphs.
Make internal systems smarter.
Exactly. Integrate LLMs for better query rewriting so the system understands varied user questions. Use smart KG fragment curation, like that auto KGQA idea, to pull only the most relevant structured data. This is vital for specialized domains, health, finance, legal, where accuracy and connections are everything.
So the system needs to be able to fan out intelligently through its own knowledge.
Yes, and then summarize and present the findings clearly. It's about building internal search capabilities that mirror the sophistication of external AI search.
Makes sense. And finally, for the really cutting-edge stuff, AI agent creation.
For building autonomous agents, the concept of fan-out is fundamental. The agent needs to be designed to potentially use multiple LLMs, plan multi-stage searches, and know when to branch out to external tools.
like using Google search or a specific KG when needed?
Precisely. If the agent's internal knowledge isn't enough, or if it risks hallucinating, it needs the ability to fan outperform its own research, gather evidence from multiple reliable sources, web search for current events, KGs for facts, and then integrate that information coherently.
So the agent's ability to fan out for evidence is key to its intelligence and reliability.
It's absolutely fundamental for creating truly autonomous and trustworthy agents that can tackle real-world complexity. They need to be able to discover and verify information on the fly.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, what we've explored today, from library facets to AI agents, really shows that query fanout is way more than just an SEO buzzword.
Definitely. It's a fundamental rethink of how search engines, and maybe even intelligence itself, works in this digital age. It's about those deep, complex, often hidden conversations the AI has with itself to find and synthesize answers.
It's the strategic expansion of search, retrieval, and generation, all driven by a need for completeness, context, and accuracy.
And it's fascinating how these principles, both old and new, come together.
Yeah.
Which does raise a really interesting question for all of us, doesn't it?
What's that?
Well, if AI is getting so good at this, at simulating curiosity, breaking down questions, fanning out to find answers, what does that mean for our own learning and discovery?
Will we start searching differently, asking broader, more connected questions like the AI?
Maybe. Will we train ourselves to think more in terms of facets and semantic depth?
Mm.
Or will we just increasingly rely on the AI's ready-made synthesized answers?
And maybe lose some of that critical exploration skill ourselves, that ability to do our own fan out.
It's definitely something to think about, isn't it? As the tools get smarter, the responsibility to think critically, to explore deeply, that still rests with us.
That's a really profound thought to end on. The landscape is definitely changing fast.
It is. Staying curious and adaptable is key.
Absolutely. And if you, our listener, want to dig deeper, we strongly recommend checking out Andrea Volpini's original work, Alexander Rodriguez Silva's analysis, and maybe even playing with the Query Fanout Simulator. We'll put links to everything in the show notes.
They're really valuable resources.
This deep dive today is really just scratching the surface, but hopefully it's given you a powerful new way to think about search and information in the age of AI. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into Query Fanout. Keep learning, keep exploring those facets, and we'll catch you on the next one.